there, folks, and welcome out to the Single Player Podcast. I'm your one and only host, I'm 16-Bit, and I got a good show for this week because we're going to be talking about the Silent Hill transmission, the Resident Evil showcase, plus a special Halloween treat and more. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and I'll be with you in a bit. Alright folks, we're back and now it's time to start the show with my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone in the world's favorite segment. It's time for the gaming forecast. So let's see what's coming out in the week of October 30th to November 5th. Okay, on November 1st, you have just one game coming out, Lonesome Village for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X. On November 2nd, you have two games coming out, Doraemon Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom for Windows, Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation 5, and Sumiko Garashi Mina de Rhythm Party, releasing exclusively in Japan on Nintendo Switch. Then on November 3rd, you have another two games coming out, The Chant for Windows, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X, and Ghost Song for Windows. And then on November 4th, you have Harvestella for Windows and Nintendo Switch. And that was your gaming forecast. Got to admit, I always appreciate whenever developers decide not to release their game all on the same day. But I don't know if there's really anything there that catches my interest. But if there is, let me know down below. And let's continue on to our first story. Okay, so for our first story, we got to talk about Silent Hill. Of course, I'm sure you all know, Konami recently had the Silent Hill transmission live stream on YouTube, and they announced a whole bunch of Silent Hill information. Now, of course, a lot of people were kind of excited about what was going to be announced, and yeah, let's get into that. First off, they right off the bat, they announced that Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The classic game is going to be remade by Bloober Team and former members of Team Silent. They're bringing them in to kind of work on the title. While I appreciate them bringing in former members of Team Silent, look. Silent Hill 2 doesn't need a remake. It never did. The game was perfect just the way it is. It's a masterpiece of the 6th generation. Okay? It doesn't need a remake. A remaster, desperately. But a remake? No. You can't. Look, here's the thing. Like I said, Silent Hill 2 is a masterpiece. It is perfect just the way it is. Alright? That game was lightning in a bottle. You can't recreate it. No matter how much you try, no matter how much effort you put into it, you will never, ever be able to recreate that. And I don't like the idea of remaking such a game like Silent Hill 2. Especially by Bloober Team, okay? For those who just don't know, Bloober Team is, of course, the developers of the Layers of Fear games. And you know what? That shit isn't scary. All right, those games just they're a lot of people like hold them up as like, oh, they're the new generation of Silent Hill. No, they're not. No, if you think they are, I'm sorry to say, but you don't know shit about Silent Hill. Okay, there was a clip that was going around and I retweeted it because it was one of the first things I thought of. And it's a clip from a stream that Germa did. I'm not sure when he did it, but like a couple of years ago, maybe this year, I don't know. But it's a clip I've seen numerous times. And it's of him playing the first game, and he gets to this hallway, and it triggers a scene where a baby comes right out of a side hallway and then smashes right into the opposite wall while yelling. And it's the funniest, most unintentionally funniest scene I have ever seen in a single game. Like, holy shit, is it hilarious. And it's like, now that team is remaking Silent Hill 2. No, I'm sorry, I'm out. Like, I checked out the moment I heard about that. I was just like, no. When it came up, I'm just like, no, sorry, no. Silent Hill 2 does not need a remake. I understand that it's incredibly hard to come by now because you have a whole bunch of retards who think that it's some sort of super rare game that's worth $200. I hate to break it to you, but it ain't worth that much. You're talking about a game that has a greatest hits edition. For fuck's sake, it was released on PC and Xbox. It's not that rare. And if you think it's rare, you deserve a good smack upside your fucking head. Anyway, but they also announced that they recast the entire game. Like, that, they're not bringing back the original voice actors. They brought in completely new voice actors that don't even sound like the characters they're supposed to be. And the thing is, a lot of people seem to think that that the voice acting in the original game, it was terrible. It was awful because it came at a time when voice acting in games were brand new, and so it was just awful. No, it was done like that on purpose. It wasn't just awful. It was meant to sound awkward because you're supposed to think that there's something wrong with the characters. This is literally explained in the documentary, The Making of Silent Hill 2. It was a documentary that was included in the European special edition. And you can find the whole thing on YouTube. It's been up there for like over 10 years. So it's like when I hear people say that, the voice acting in the original is terrible, I'm like, you don't get it. You just simply don't get it. So, and of course, and they did that in the HD collection, and that was horrible. The actors in that just phoned it in because, once again, they didn't understand it. They just thought like, it was just terrible. That was it. No, there's a specific reason why they're talking like that. So you could tell I'm not particularly happy about this. Oh yeah, and it's a PS5 exclusive, and it's coming to PC via Steam. I don't care, because like I already have the game on PS2. I don't need it. I don't need the remake. I'm not interested in it. I have the original, and I'm fine with that. So yeah, no, I'm not doing this. But of course, that wasn't it. No, Konami couldn't stop there. They had to announce even more stuff, because it turns out that there's several new spin-offs coming out. First up is Silent Hill Townfall, and it's being developed by No Code in Annapurna, and that's the second time I checked out. When you hear Annapurna, okay, I'm gonna be quite frank with you. Annapurna produces some of the most pretentious games I think ever made. We're talking like fucking walking simulators. All right, that's the kind of shit they put out. Okay, this is the kind of shit for like hipsters who think they're smarter than they genuinely fucking are. So when I hear Annapurna making publishing a Silent Hill game, I'm like, nope, no, fuck you, no, done, no. Because again, they're going to make it into a pretentious art house walking sim. That kind of shit I can't fucking stand. Just, oh God. And then they announced Return to Silent Hill, which is the sequel to the live action film. Now, and of course, Christoph Gans is coming back to direct. Now, understand, this of course has nothing to do with Revelations 3D, which is god awful. That was the other movie that came out like, what was that, 2012? And that was supposed to be Silent Hill 3, but it was just completely bad. It was terrible. It was really, really terrible. And so Christoph Gans is returning to do a movie sequel to the first Silent Hill movie. And again, I'm just not... We've heard about this before. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'm not interested because the first Silent Hill movie, it had its moments, but for the most part, it's not a very good adaptation. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's not a very good adaptation. Doesn't really stick well to the first game. It changes quite a lot from the first game. It introduces Pyramid Head for some fucking reason, even though he shouldn't exist in any other game other than Silent Hill 2, because he's a manifestation of James Sunderland's psyche. It's like I've said before. People who have handled the franchise, who are not part of Team Silent, have no understanding of the franchise. They don't get it. Most of these people do not fucking get it. So, yeah, I'm not interested in that at all. And then, oh boy, then we get Silent Hill Ascension, which is a spin-off developed by Bad Robot Games. Yeah, like that third time I checked out. And in collaboration by Genvid Behavior and DJ2 Entertainment. And guess who's directing the fucker? Guess. No, guess. Actually, you probably already know the answer. J.J. fucking Abrams. The man who not just killed Star Trek, but Star Wars. Fuck my life. Like, Konami, what the fuck are you doing? You're seriously gonna give Silent Hill to the man that fucked up Star Wars and Star Trek? Nah. And then there's this thing where it comes at the end and it says, face your trauma together, live 2023. And I'm like, oh god, it's gonna be a live service game. You just know it. You just know it's gonna be a live service game. Oh, fuck. Fuck. But then it gets even worse. Then we get Silent Hill F, which is being developed by Neobards Entertainment. And it's basically like an entirely brand new story set in 1960s Japan. And my first thought is, why? Konami, it's called Silent Hill for a reason. It's set in the town of Silent Hill. Why are you setting it in 1960s Japan? What? Fucking what? I don't know. I fucking don't know anymore. And that was it. Oh yeah, they announced a couple of statues that are coming out. I have no interest. By that point, I was just like...
Honey, sometimes when you go to sleep, you talk about a place.
I don't remember.
Can you tell me the best way to get to Silent Hill?
Why you want to go there?
Actually, you know what? I've said it before, and I'm going to say it here again. Silent
Where's
Hill
my child?
has been
Only the
dead
demon
since
knows
Silent
where
Hill
she is.
It has. Silent Hill 4 was like the last good game we ever got. And every other game after that has been terrible. We've been lying to ourselves about the other games. Oh, they're good. Alright folks, and we're back, and first up in our next round of stories, we gotta talk about Resident Evil. That's right, because within 1 week, not only did we get a Silent Hill showcase, we also got a Resident Evil showcase. Yeah, it was a big week for survival horror fans. But anyway, for the Resident Evil one, we got a lot of interesting stuff to go over. First and foremost, regarding Resident Evil Village, we got some more information and details on the upcoming Winter's expansion DLC, which we got a new look at the third-person mode. Apparently, there's now a 60-minute playable demo that actually allows you to test out the third-person view, and I think that's actually really neat that they did that. Also, we got some more story tidbits on the expansion story mode regarding Rose and such, and what's been going on with her, and what her story is going to be. And it does seem like it's going to be a bit of more of a psychological horror experience, which is fine. I think that's actually pretty neat. Also, the Mercenaries mode is coming to this expansion as well. Looks pretty awesome. It's pretty much what you expect from Mercenaries mode. You can choose between a wide variety of characters from the game, and you basically just have to fight a whole horde of enemies. So we also got another look at Resident Evil Reverse and all the content that will be coming to there. It's pretty much just like the Mercenaries mode, except it's multiplayer, and you can play a wide variety of characters from the past few games, so Resident Evil 2, 3, 7, and Village. It'll also have a ton of customization. You will be able to customize your weapons and your loadouts, and there will be several arenas from throughout the series. So, for example, the RCPD and the mansion from Resident Evil 7. Overall, it seems like it's a pretty fun multiplayer experience. Now, the Winter's expansion, which includes also Resident Evil Reverse, will be coming out on December 2nd of this year. And Reverse will be free for anyone who owns Village. And I'm not sure how much the Winter's expansion is going to cost, so I might have to look into that. We also got some more information on the cloud versions of Resident Evil Village. Now, that's all coming to the Nintendo Switch, and that'll be coming on the 28th. So, in 2 days from now. So, if you're interested, if you got a Nintendo Switch, you're interested in playing the game, there you go. We also got updates on the cloud versions of Resident Evil 2, 3, and Village for the Nintendo Switch. 2 will be coming out on November 11th. Resident Evil 3 will be coming out November 18th. And then Resident Evil 7, December 16th. All of this year. So keep in mind, though, that these are the cloud versions. And if you buy them, you don't actually own them. You basically just own a digital copy that's on a server somewhere. And at any point, Capcom can cut you off. That's why I don't like the idea of cloud gaming in general. In fact, I'm actually kind of surprised it's taken Capcom this long to bring the cloud version of 7 to North America, because it's been out in Japan for like 3-4 years? It's been there for a while, so I'm kind of like, okay, why did it take Capcom this long to bring it over to North America? Of course, Capcom dedicated the latter half of the showcase to the Resident Evil 4 remake, and we got some new gameplay footage and story trailers. And so far, I gotta say, it looks really nice. They did a fantastic job with it. It's not a one-to-one remake. You can definitely tell, like, there are some environments that, yes, they are essentially just updated versions of what they were in the original, but there's other environments that are completely brand new. So we also got our first look at some of the other characters, Ashley, Ada, LuIzA. They also showed off gameplay from the first encounter in the village, and I gotta say, Village looks absolutely fantastic. Graphically, the game looks amazing. They also showed off some gameplay aspects from the original, such as the attaché case. That's returning again, as is the merchant. That's right, the famous merchant is, of course, returning. Unfortunately, they changed his voice, and I'm not particularly happy about that, because in my opinion, the original merchant's voice is just kind of iconic, you know? What you buying, what you selling? You know, stuff like that is fantastic, and this new voice, I'm like, come on, it's not the same. It just isn't. We also got a little bit more information on the launch. It's going to be coming out on March 24th, 2023. It'll be available for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X and S, and Steam. Now, of course, like every other modern game, it will have various additions to it. So first off, you have the Deluxe Edition, which will include various DLC costumes, weapons, filters, accessories. It'll even come with the original soundtrack, so if you want to swap that out. There will be a treasure map expansion. And then there's the Collector's Edition, which includes the game plus a steelbook, extra DLC pack product code, digital soundtrack, art book, poster, a really big, I'm not sure if it's like a metal box, but it's like an attaché case type of thing, and a figure of Leon S. Kennedy. Now, if you go with the standard edition, it will come with its own pre-order bonuses, which will include a gold attaché case and a charm that looks like the handgun ammo. But for Deluxe and Collector's Edition owners, you will be getting those two plus two extras, the classic attaché case and the green herb charm. Of course, pre-ordering all of this on the PlayStation Store will also net you the RE4 mini soundtrack bonus. So overall, you get some interesting stuff if you get the game. Honestly, though, I'm a bit disappointed by the costume pack, because like you don't even include any of the costumes from the original Resident Evil 4. Like, you could have included Leon's RCPD outfit. That was in like the PS2 and Wii version, for crying out loud. Speaking of which, I once again, I have no interest in really getting the remake, because again, like, I own several versions of this game already. In fact, I'm playing it. You can see right now on this episode, I'm playing the PC version, which with the fan HDMod and the unofficial patch. And it looks and plays great. So once again, I don't see the point of getting the remake. You know what's also an interesting, and so a lot of people pointed this out on Twitter, is if you look at the gameplay footage, they didn't even include the laser sight. They replaced it with a crosshair. Why? Again, that added a little bit more immersion to the game. I don't understand what's the point of replacing something like that. I don't know. Just like with Silent Hill 2, I just see this as nothing more than a pointless remake that's just meant to cash in on the rose-colored glasses that people have for the original versions. But outside of that, I think they had a very good showing. I'm very much interested in the Winters expansion. I might get that when it comes out and, play it on for the podcast, because after all, I played through Village for the podcast earlier this year. So anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Alright, next up, we've got an update on the Bayonetta 3 dispute, because PlatinumGames has officially released a statement on the entire thing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. PlatinumGames put out a tweet saying, and I quote, "We at PlatinumGames offer our sincerest appreciation to everyone who has contributed to creating the Bayonetta series over the years, as well as the community that has served as its foundation. We give our full support to Jennifer Hale as the new Bayonetta and align with everything in her statement. We ask people to please refrain from any further comments that would disrespect Jennifer or any other contributors to the series." I gotta say, that's probably the best statement that they've ever put out regarding this entire thing. And honestly, it's probably the smartest legally. Because, remember, this is a game that's not out yet, and there's a lot of legal red tape that they have to get through. So, this is probably the most that they could ever talk about this entire thing. And I gotta say, it's probably the classiest, because one of the problems after Helen Otero put out those videos is you had a ton of people going after Platinum Nintendo and Jennifer Hale over this entire thing. You went to their Twitter accounts and it was constantly people just attacking them. Again, going off of the statements of just one person. So I'll give props to Platinum about this. Now, that being said, it obviously still does not answer a lot of questions about this entire thing. And while I think the sources for Platinum and VGC are quite plausible, I'm a little I'm taking them with a grain of salt, because the thing is that they're anonymous sources. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they actually do work for Platinum. So you have to take that stuff with a grain of salt. But I think, if anything, you will never actually hear an official confirmation from within Platinum Games. And a lot of that has to deal with Japanese business culture, because over there, it is like socially taboo to talk shit about someone you've worked with in the past. That can get you pretty much blacklisted from any industry you're working in. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's happened to Yuji Naka, because a couple of months ago, he kind of went on this Twitter tirade about the Land Wonderland, and he basically put out a photo of the Sonic Adventure team from like 1998-99, and he like blocked out Naoto Oshima's face, and that's considered obviously disrespectful. So with that, he's pretty much blacklisted himself from the entire video game industry over there. So don't be surprised even if in like 5 to 10 years from now, they're still not going to talk about it, because it's in the past, and again, they don't do that shit. So overall, I gotta say, I think Nintendo, Platinum, and Jennifer Hale have handled this situation actually quite well. The only one who hasn't is Hideki Kamiya, and that's because, well, Hideki Kamiya has always kind of been an asshole on Twitter. Okay, let's be honest here. The dude has been blocking people for basically just about anything. Hell, he blocked me in 2015, okay? And that was simply because I said I was excited to play Bayonetta 2 after returning home from art school. He like quote retweeted me saying, "I didn't direct Bayonetta 2, blocked," and like that was it. Now, of course, I wear that block as a badge of honor, but still, you know, even though he blocked me, I can't hate the guy, you know? It's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, he's a bit of an asshole, but I respect him as a game developer. He makes awesome games, so I can't hate him. But I think he also does that because he might kind of get overwhelmed, and so his first reaction is to just block people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's why he does it. It's not just because he's an asshole. I think he actually kind of gets like, what's a good way of saying it? Like, sensory overload when like a bunch of people start retweeting him and quote retweeting him and all kind of shit. He just kind of can't handle it, and so his first instinct is to just block people like crazy. But yeah, so when people are saying like, oh, that's his actions says something, it's like, no, not really, because he's always been like that. But anyway, guys, let's move on to our next story. Okay, and our next story involves G4. Oh boy. So, as you all know, G4 has officially shut down, and honestly, they did it to themselves. The entire thing was a complete disaster from the very beginning. It wasn't fun, it wasn't interesting, and they were more interested in lecturing the audience than entertaining them. Now, we all know about the YouTube and Twitch channels and how they've been losing viewers and subscribers for quite a while now, but how have they been doing on television? Well, we have the Nielsen ratings, and holy shit is it bad. Folks, according to Nielsen, G4 drew only 1,000 viewers on average. That's not several thousand, that's just 1,000, and that's between both primetime and daytime. Yeah. Holy shit, G4. God damn, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. Here's the thing, though. Again, why put this on television? Television is kind of dying, alright? No one is interested in it. All anyone wants to do is watch streaming. So I don't understand what's the point of putting this out on cable when cable itself is actually dying. Of course it's going to get 1,000 total viewers, okay? Now, granted, it did a little slightly better than that on YouTube and Twitch, but still not enough to keep the entire network going, all right? And like I said, they did it to themselves, okay? G4, they had so much potential in bringing it back. They could have done what they used to do back in the old days, 2002 to maybe 2006 and 7, okay? That was like the golden era of G4. They could have brought that back, but no. What did they do? They didn't. They made it even worse, okay? So here's the thing. The other night, I was watching a bunch of old X-Play videos, because you can still watch them on YouTube, okay? There's a whole bunch of channels that have them. In fact, I don't really talk about it, but I actually have a second YouTube channel called G4TV. I haven't updated it in a long time, but I used to upload a lot of old Tech TV and G4 stuff on there, okay? So you can find this stuff all over YouTube. I was watching a lot of old X-Play the other night, and you know what? It still holds up. It's still fun, because the episodes had a very specific structure. You had a half-hour-long episode with about 3 to 5 reviews that were anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes long. That was it. It was simple and to the point. There wasn't any 20-minute long analysis of a game or anything like that. It was just simply, here's what's good, here's what's bad, 3 out of 5. There you go. That's all you needed. And yet, this new version of X-Play is just, it's garbage. It's absolute shit. It's 2 hours long with analysis that's like 20 minutes long. It's not interesting. It's not fun. And the personalities themselves didn't help it either. So yeah, it's not surprising that they got 1,000 viewers on cable television. I mean, after all, like I said, cable is dying, but the fact that you're dead last on the Nielsen ratings, oof, that's bad. That is fucking bad. Overall, I miss classic G4, but this new G4 can rot in hell for all I care. Anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Forget everything you think you know about Resident Evil.
I'm under the President's order to rescue you.
My father? Oh my god! What's going on?
Don't worry, Ashley. I'm coming for you.
Vayan por detrás. Evil has evolved. Resident Evil 4 for Nintendo GameCube. Rated M for mature. Only from Capcom.
On the message boards.
They have message boards?
Adam is from Mars and Morgan is from Venus.
I love to write you messages with my tiny penis.
I have a spirit pal, you could put him on your show. Is it love or hate I have for you? I'll have to let you know. On the X-Play board.
You better like my game.
On the X-Play board. It's my closest thing to fame. On the X-Play board.
I don't want to hear it.
On the X-Play board, don't even take me near it. I'm my favorite character you couldn't understand.
Solid Snake's a roadmap on my way to be a man. RPGs and hockey games, volleyball and cricket.
If Weapon says don't get it, then they can
suck it.
On the X-Play board.
Why won't you freaking listen?
The X-Play board. To my badly spelled dissing on the X-Play board.
You don't have any feelings.
On the X-Play board. For my brilliant whining squealing.
X-Play? More like X-Duty.
The show's like so stupid.
Why do you rate games with only 5s? 10s would be way better because it's like twice as bigger.
You better stop hating on Full Metal Alchemist.
Man, you guys don't even know games. I should totally be the host, you morons. P.S. Morgan Webb is pretty.
On the X-Play boards, Morgan's not a gamer. On the X-Play board,
Adam is a lamer.
On the X-Play board,
I don't want to hear it.
On the X-Play board,
don't even take me near it.
Love you, I hate you. I 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 love you, I hate you. On the X-Play board, you better like my game. On the X-Play board, it's my closest thing to fame. On the X-Play board, I don't wanna hear it. On the X-Play board, don't even take me near it.
Adam's breath smells like crusty toe jam.
Did you guys play Halo 2 on Xbox Live? Yo, man, what's your game tag?
The only thing thinner than Adam's hair is his wit.
Not that bad.
Does Morgan really play games?
Yes, I'm a gamer already.
Inuyasha is so deep and intricate, you don't even know.
You guys hella rock for reals. You're the best show on TV.
What do you mean it's the best show on television? Oh. Thank you.
I love Adam and Morgan.
That's it. That's a wrap.
All right, folks, we're back, and instead of the usual stories, I'm going to end things off a little bit earlier this week, because I've got something very, very special for you. As you all know, next Monday is Halloween, and to get into the spirit, I've decided to end the show off with a special radio program from the 1940s. Now, I've done this before. In fact, the last Halloween episode I did was back in 2019, and I ended off with the 1938 War of the Worlds broadcast. You know, with Orson Welles, the one that caused America to panic and actually believe that aliens were invading the United States. Well, this time, I'm going to end off with a completely different one. That was an hour long, and that made the episode an hour and a half. This one, however, is just under half an hour, and it's an episode of a show called Suspense. Now, Suspense was a horror mystery series that lasted for many years, from like the 1930s to the 50s. So, yeah, it's like one of the longest running radio shows. And there's one episode in particular I wanted to air because I always thought it was very interesting because it's an adaptation of a story I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's The Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft. Now, what's very interesting about this episode is that it actually aired on November 1st of 1945. What's interesting about it is that it's probably, because I looked into this, and I was like, wait a minute, that's pretty early for an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. I looked into it, and I think it might be the single earliest adaptation of any of H.P. Lovecraft's work. In fact, it might even be the first adaptation, because keep in mind, this is like 8 years after he died, and a lot of his work didn't really become popular until like 20 years after his death, like late 50s throughout the 60s. That's when he really started kind of becoming more and more mainstream popular. So I find it very fascinating how they adapted one of his works, not only just a few years after his death, but it's actually a pretty accurate adaptation. Now, granted, it's only like less than a half an hour long, so it's not going to be a one-to-one adaptation. It's not like it's an audiobook, but I think they still did a pretty good job with it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave here. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll see you next week. Enjoy the radio program. Remember, any music that is played during this episode is available down below and links and such, as is the playlist of all the past music. So with that being said, I bid you all farewell. I'll see you next week. Remember to keep gaming and have a happy Halloween.
Suspense. Mr. Ronald Colman, a star of the Dunwich Horror, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. Come in, Dunwich, Massachusetts. Come in, Dunwich.
Good evening. This is Henry Armitage. I'm speaking to you. Dr. Rice, please close the window. I'm speaking to you from my laboratory on the slopes of Sentinel Hill near Dunwich, Massachusetts. Present with me is Dr. Warren Rice, my distinguished colleague from Miskatonic University. We are now about 100 yards from the summit of the hill, which is crowned by a huge table-like stone set in the center of a circle of stone pillars, a place of prehistoric worship. A moment ago, you may have heard the dogs of Dunwich Township barking, as we have heard them for 3 days and 3 nights. Dr. Rice and I know the horror which their barking portends, but the purpose of this broadcast is to make this unbelievable horror believable to you. I hope for your sakes and ours we are successful tonight. It is the eve of All Hallows. Tomorrow will be too late. Our time tonight is very short, so I'll speak only of those more recent events which, believe me, may culminate at any moment in a climax too frightful to wholly contemplate. I will begin with the birth of Wilbur Whately. It was the night of February the 2nd, 1921. Candlemas. Toward dawn, when Lavinia Whately, a deformed albino woman about 35 years old, gave birth to her dark, goatish-looking son in the crumbling Whately farmhouse northeast of the village. No one attended her. No doctor or midwife. No one was with her, except her aged, half-insane father, who was known as Wizard Whately. So Wilbur came into this world under heaven knows what incantations, what appeals to what power. A week later, Wizard Whately drove his sleigh into Dunwich Village and reported the event to a group of loungers in Osborne's general store.
Hey, your grandson got yellow hair like Lavinia, Wizard?
No, takes after his father more. He's dark.
You never spoke of who his father might be now, did you?
Oh, you know his father when the time comes. Oh, Lavinia's read and seen some things the most of you only talk about. I calculate her husband's as good as you can find this side of Aylesbury.
Well, we don't be nosy, Wizard.
Maybe it wanted no church that none of you heard of. But you wouldn't ask no better church wedding than Lavinia's.
Why, I didn't hear tell of no wedding, Wizard. When was that?
Oh, not a wedding you'd hear of, Corey. Not a husband you'd hear of, neither. But let me tell you something. Someday you folks will hear a child of Lavinia's calling its father's name on top of Sentinel Hill.
Prophecy? Or idle boasting by an insane old man? Oh, I know I ask a great deal when I ask you to believe that the arrival of an infant into that house of dire poverty and squalor could possibly constitute a horror and a threat to all our known world. Yet it has an earthly history. Perhaps through this history, you will be able to give it credence. Wilbur Whately's growth was uncanny. But even if he had been an average child, he would have become, in time, an unnatural being, for he was surrounded from the first by the most malign influences. There was his grandfather, old Whately, Wizard Whately, who each Halloween climbed Sentinel Hill to the great circle of stone, and while the hills shook, stood holding a great book open on his arms and shrieked into the wind. Shrieked.
No! Jump off! No! Jump off! No! Jump off!
Yog Sothoth, that dreadful name, first mentioned in the hideous forbidden book, the Necronomicon. And this Wizard Whately was Wilbur's teacher. The villagers began to notice curious things that were going on at the Whately farmhouse. Soon after Wilbur was born, old Whately began to remodel the house. The abandoned upper story was restored, and all the windows were tightly boarded up. And then Wizard began to buy cattle in large numbers, both horses and cows. Yet the livestock on the farm didn't seem to increase. Young Lem Brown was one day curious enough to creep close to the house to count the Whately herd.
Dr. Armitage, there warn't more than 12 cows, and them sick. Looked like they had the blight and funny wounds on them, like cuts. I heard something, too, in the top part of Wizard's house. Something like water slapping inside, only big like a sea.
One other person went to the Whately farm in the years before I met Wilbur, Dr. Ken Houghton of Aylesbury, who was called by Wilbur himself, who said that his grandfather was dying. Dr. Houghton found the old man in a bedroom on the ground floor, and Wilbur with him. While outside the window, a legion of whippoorwills cried loudly and rhythmically, endlessly. Wilbur spoke about the sound.
Listen, they whistle in time with his breathing now. They're ready. Listen, Doctor. They know his soul's going out. They're waiting.
Yes, Wilbur, that's an interesting superstition. Late in the year for them, too.
And when he goes, if they catch him, they'll keep laughing till break of day. If they don't catch him, they'll quiet down.
You mean you believe that... Just a minute. I think he's conscious.
Yes, the birds changed when his breathing changed. Like
Willie,
I say.
Willie.
I'm here.
More space, Willie. Remember, more space soon.
Yes, I'll build it.
You grows, but that grows faster. It'll be ready to serve you soon, Willie.
I know.
But remember, when it's time, you open up the gates to Yog Sothoth with the long chant, the one on page 751 of the book. But mind you, feed it enough, 'cause if it gets out before you opens to Yog Sothoth, it's all over. It's no use.
He's going now. He's dead, Wilbur.
Listen. The birds, they didn't get him. Yes, he's free. He's gone.
It was the winter following Wizard Whately's death that I first met Wilbur. He came in person to the library at Miskatonic University to consult a copy of the hideous Necronomicon, which was kept there in its Latin version, as printed in Spain in the 17th century. I tell you, when he came into my office, I was appalled at his appearance. 8 feet tall, shabby, dirty, bearded. But I was even more appalled by his voice when he spoke to me.
I wrote you a letter a month past, Doctor. I wanted a loan of the book.
Well, that's a book that's never loaned from this library. I doubt if it is from any library.
Well, I have to see it then.
Oh, very well. It's kept right here. As you know, there are only 3 copies of this book in existence. That's why we're careful. Here, you can look at it on this table.
Wizard said it would be on page 751.
What? What is it you're looking for?
The formula, the long chant, the one that opens the gate to Yog Sothoth.
I felt a wave of fright as tangible as a draft from the tomb. He seemed somehow like the spawn of another dimension, like something only partly of mankind, linked to black gulfs beyond all spheres of force and matter, space and time. And presently he raised his head and spoke again.
It's here, all right, but I'll have to have a copy.
Oh, that paragraph there? Oh, I don't know.
Do you know Latin, Doctor?
Yes, certainly.
Then read it, Doctor. Let's hear how you make it out.
All right, that shouldn't be difficult. Let's see. Nor is it to be thought that man is the oldest or the last of Earth's masters. The old ones were, and the old ones shall be. Not in the spaces that we know, but between them. But only Yog Sothoth knows the gate. Yog Sothoth is the gate to to where the old ones broke through of old. Their hands are at your throats, yet ye see them not.
Dr. Armitage, you see, I reckon I've got to take that book home. There's things in it I've got to try, and you can't hold me up.
No, I'm sorry.
I tell you, Doctor, I'll have the book sooner or later, no matter what. You see, that's waiting for me at home won't wait much longer.
It was a week later that I was awakened suddenly by the fierce yelping of the great watchdog on the campus, followed by a sound from a wholly different throat, a scream. And I knew instantly that Wilbur had come back for the Necronomicon. I hastened into my clothes and rushed across to the library where a crowd had gathered before the smashed window of my office. Inside, there was a fearful groaning and growling, and some instinct warned me that what was taking place there was not for unfortified eyes to see. I brushed back the crowd, motioning only to Professor Rice to come in with me. When we opened the study door, Professor Rice screamed.
No, Dr. Armitage, no, I can't.
Come, close the door. We can't let them see. She's alive, but Lord, what a job that dog's done. Torn him to bits. Oh, it's a horrible sound, that moaning. You suppose we ought to call a doctor?
A doctor? A doctor for that? No doctor in the world would know what to do for that. Look, Armitage, it's not human, nor animal. Where did it come from? Can you tell me? Can you tell me what it is?
No, I couldn't tell what Wilbur Whately was. The thing that lay half bent on its side in a pool of greenish-yellow stickiness was 9 feet tall. And the dog had torn off all the clothing and some of the skins. It was partly human, beyond a doubt, with very man-like hands and head, but the torso and lower parts of the body was fabulous. Its chest had the leathery hide of a crocodile or alligator. But below the waistline, the skin was covered with coarse black fur. And from the abdomen, long greenish-gray tentacles. Well, the limbs terminated in ridgy-veined pads that were neither hooves nor claws. And as Dr. Rice and I stood staring at this presence, the whippoorwills began to cry in unison outside the study window. And then the thing on the floor roused and mumbled.
God. Armitage, in heaven's name.
Listen. The whippoorwill. Listen. Yes, he's dead now. Look, Rice. Look what's happening.
He's disintegrating.
Of course. Fast, too. Fading away. Because he isn't made of matter as we know it on Earth. I guess he took after his father. So there'll be nothing left.
His father? What was his father?
I daren't think. I thought then that what came into our world with Wilbur Whately left with him. I forgot what he himself had told me of it, which was waiting in the sealed house Wizard Whately had built, where the cattle were driven to disappear. But Wilbur Whately left a diary, written in a strange alphabet resembling Sanskrit. And I worked off and on for weeks to decipher it. And finally, I read the following passage written by Wilbur when he was no more than 8 years old.
That upstairs is more ahead of me than I had thought it would be, and is not like to have much earth brain. I can see it a little when I make the sign or blow the powder of Ivangatse at it. And it is like them I see Halloween on the hill. I wonder how I shall look when the earth is cleared and there are no earth beings. Maybe like that upstairs looks, which has no body, even fed with all the blood.
Toward morning, in a cold sweat of terror, I called Dr. Rice to my house and told him we have to destroy what's in that farmhouse.
Why can't we just leave the thing locked up there? The house is boarded tight.
Yes, but you think boards will hold it? Don't you realize, man, it hasn't been fed? It hasn't had blood since the 18th of September, when Wilbur Whately came here to die. We left for Dunwich that night, and we've been here on Sentinel Hill ever since, working desperately to discover the formula in time. But a week ago tonight, shortly after dawn... Yeah, hello?
Dr. Armitage, this is Lem Brown. I was just up beyond the glen, Doctor, looking for cows I lost last night.
Yes, Lem?
Well, Doctor, something's been there. Smells like thunder, and there's prints in the road. Great round prints, big as barrel heads, like a elephant has been along.
Anything else, Lem?
That's all I see. Except bushes and trees pushed back from the road like a house was drug along.
Did you hear anything?
Yes, long toward morning, I heard a sound over toward Whately's place, a kind of ripping or tearing of wood, like a big box was being opened up. Chancy, he heard it too.
Lem, who lives nearest the Whately farm?
Why, that'd be Elmer Fry's place.
Oh, he's on this line too, isn't he? Hang on and I'll ring him.
Yes, Dr. Armitage, this is Central.
I'm trying to get Elmer Fry, Central.
Doctor, he must be out somewheres, and his whole family. I was ringing there an hour ago. Earl Sawyer saw Elmer's cows stampeding in Cold Spring Glen.
Oh, you didn't get him. All right. But if you hear or see anything more, let me know. I'll be here working all day. Rice! Rice! Oh, wake up. It's loose. It's out of the house. One family gone already. We have to work. Pray God we find that formula in time. A week since it broke loose. A week of terror and panic here in Dunwich Township. Each night it moves about the countryside, leaving the trees crushed in a 30-foot swathe, as though by a moving mountain, leaving its monstrous tracks on a trail of tarry stickiness, leaving crushed and gutted farmhouses and whole herds of cattle drained of blood. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the story to this moment. And tonight is Halloween. Tonight we are here to... Just one moment, please. Dr. Rice, did you hear something?
With the window closed, no.
Well, we'll throw it open. I thought so. Listen. A sound from 1,000 bending trees. A sound like the sea moving across a forest. Yes. Yes, it's coming here, of course. All Hallows, it comes to Sentinel Hill. Dr. Rice, I'll try the formula and the powder from the altar stone. I want you to stay here at the microphone and report what you see.
Very well, Dr. Armitage.
Oh, wait a minute before I go. To any scientists who may be listening to me, if I fail, There is a possible alternative formula in Falconer's Mystical Formulae of the Middle Ages on page 24. Well, there are the whippoorwills. I better get out there. Take over, Dr. Wright.
Yes. I'll do as well as I can, Armitage. Good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Armitage is climbing to the top of the hill, to the altar stone. I can see him plainly, for the moon is high and the night clear. Down the hill, toward the dark village, I can see the grasses and shrubbery bending down, marking the monster's ascent. It moves quite fast, and I feel a proximity to phases of being utterly forbidden. Now, Dr. Armitage stands now on the altar stone and is holding the powder which, if the books are correct, will make this thing for an instant visible. It is quite close to him now, perhaps 20 yards or less. He lifts his hands, he flings the powder in a wide arc. I can see... Oh, no! No!
Dr. Rice, come in, Dunnage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your suspense announcer. Due to conditions... Oh, just a moment, please. One moment, please. Dr. Rice, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, for a moment I was overcome when I saw... Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps you can hear now the incantation of Dr. Armitage. Listen. The whippoorwills mean death. And Dr. Armitage is walking back here now. So we know that whatever it was, it is gone. It is dead. We can be thankful indeed. You see, I saw Dr. Armitage.
Yes. Did you see it, Dr. Rice?
I saw it, Lord, yes.
What did it look like to you?
It looked
here.
Like something made of squirming ropes, but bigger than a barn and shaped, well, like an egg, and dozens of legs, like barrels that half closed when it stepped, and nothing solid about it, and at least 15 or 20 mouths or trunks opening and closing, but what was it?
Oh, a kind of force. A kind of force that doesn't belong in our part of space. Did you notice the half face on top?
Half face, like a human face.
Yes, very large, but yes, quite human, and quite like Wilbur's, like all the Waitley's.
Then it was...
That's right. It was Wilbur's twin brother. And you saw what 3 weeks' growth had done. And it was the child of Lavinia's who called its father's name on Sentinel Hill, as Wizard Waitley prophesied. You heard it calling, Yog Sotho. Ladies and gentlemen, this night is over. It is All Saints' Day. May heaven bless us all.
The Dunnage Horror, with Ronald Colman as your star of suspense. This is the Armed Forces Radio Service.